Story time of how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. My boyfriend and I had been together for 2.5 years. His family loved me and my family loved him and they expected us to get married. Well, last year when COVID started, we were actually in different countries, so we didn't see each other for 3 months. During those 3 months, we FaceTimed 4 times a day, and we were always texting. He happened to be quarantining in our hometown, so both of our families were in the same place. I was quarantined in a different country. One day my cousin calls me and tells me that she met a really nice guy on a dating website. I was so happy for her because she had had bad luck with guys. Every single week, her and I would catch up on the phone and she would tell me how much she liked this guy, and how amazing their dates were, and how amazing he was in bed, how sweet and considerate he was. I couldn't be happier for her. Well, when I finally get back home, my boyfriend is super distant and cold. So naturally, I called my cousin and complained. She told me to give him space. She said I should just leave him alone. And so like an idiot, I did leave him alone. One day my cousin calls me and tells me to come over for dinner. When I got there, my boyfriend's car was parked in her garage. I thought it was just her nice way of trying to get us to talk. I walk in and catch them doing the dirty on the couch. Come back for part 2. So I walk in on my cousin and my boyfriend doing the dirty on her couch. They quickly get up from the couch and get dressed. Of course, by that time, I'm in hysterics. I'm crying and yelling. My boyfriend instantly got on his knees and begged me for forgiveness. I went up to my cousin and I punched her right in the face. She wasn't expecting that. And I said, well, this is the guy that you've been dating, isn't it? She said yes, and that she was just trying to find the best way to tell me. And so she just thought the best way to tell me was to get me to walk in on her and him doing the dirty. I punched her again. My boyfriend came to her rescue though. Instantly went into hero mode, which made me even angrier, so I punched him too. I stormed out of her house and went back to my house. Well, I told my parents everything. And my dad went over to my uncle's house, my cousin's dad, and he told him everything. She was about to turn 19, so he took away her phone and her car. And I get a phone call from my ex, come back for part 3. Part 3. So my lying, cheating ex calls me and explains to me why he actually slept with my cousin. He said that he was so lonely and that he didn't know what to do, and that the closest thing to me he could find was my cousin. Right, as if that was any comfort to me. He said I should be grateful that I didn't cheat with someone else. I told him he had totally betrayed my trust and that I could never ever trust him again. And then he confessed that she was pregnant, and that his parents wanted them to get married. He said he just wanted to give me a heads up. Then he said that we could still be together, but just not tell anyone, so basically he wanted me to be his side piece. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. It was like I didn't know this man. Guess what I did? I recorded the entire conversation. So I went straight to my cousin and I let her listen to it. She was so shocked. She couldn't believe that he would offer to have me as a side chick. Well, I also let my uncle listen to it. He went to my ex's house and beat him up. Honestly, that made me sad, but he deserved it. They now have a baby and he's gained 50 pounds. Trust your instincts, girl, and always record your conversations. Also, how cute are my nails? Story time about how my boyfriend forces me to wear makeup. My boyfriend and I have only been dating for 4 months. I'm 22 and he's 6 years older than me. Our relationship has been pretty good. After 2 weeks of dating, he started slowly encouraging me to wear more and more makeup. I didn't think anything was wrong with this until he took me to Sephora and told me to choose makeup. I'm not a huge fan of makeup and I actually don't even know how to apply it. So when he took me to Sephora, I was just like, what? He said, pick whatever you want. I chose a few items, but he said, pick more. Then he said he wanted me to put on all the makeup so we could go to dinner. And that night was like the best sex we had ever had. It's like the makeup turned him on. After that, he told me that anytime we would see each other, I had to wear a full face of makeup. I don't even know how to put on foundation. I quickly looked up tutorials to learn how to do it. I used makeup for about a week, and after that I started breaking out. Told him I didn't want to wear makeup every time I saw him, and if it was okay. And he said no. Point blank, no. He explained to me that I must wear makeup every single time I see him. I don't know how to feel about this, but I don't think it's right. And now he doesn't even touch me if I wear makeup. He even told me that I didn't look as cute as when I wear makeup. Then he actually took out a makeup bag from his car and gave it to me. Is this normal or should I break up with him? I caught my neighbor trying to open my apartment door. Should I be worried? Disclaimers on my Storytime instead of me on Instagram. I just moved into my new apartment 2 months ago. Everything's been completely normal and fine up until a few weeks ago. I went to my mailroom to pick up some packages and there happened to be one of my neighbors there. He says his name is Jerry and he actually introduced himself to me. I had never seen him before, but he just said, hey, how are you? I said, hi. And then he said, are you new to the building? And I confirmed that I was new to the building. That's when he said that I looked familiar to him and he asked me where I went to school. I told him where I went to school and then he started asking me more questions. But the more questions he asked me, the more I realized he was just trying to find me on Facebook. I didn't give him my last name or anything. But ultimately, this guy knows where I live, so I was just like, whatever. That's when he started recommending restaurants and cafes around our neighborhood. He just kept talking and talking and talking. I ended up standing there for 10 minutes listening to him talk until I told him I had to leave. That's when he said it was so nice to meet me and that he'd see me around. Keep in mind, he does not know what floor I live on at this point. Then a few days later, I see him again at the mailroom. I said hello, but I made sure to act like I was in a hurry. But of course, he had to stop me and we talked again for like 5 minutes. Follow for part 2. I caught my neighbor trying to open my apartment door. Should I be worried? Disclaimers on my Storytime instead of me on Instagram. I knew he was going to talk my ear off, so I told him I was in a hurry and I had to go. And he says, no worries, maybe we should catch up sometime. And I said, cool, bye. I did not say yes. A few hours later, I get on my Instagram and I see that he started following me. I wasn't super creeped out at this point. I was just like, okay, maybe he's just trying to be friendly. I instantly went and blocked him from seeing my stories. I didn't want him to keep tabs on me that way. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, I work from home. And I do have 2 dogs. My dogs are always pretty quiet. I've never had a complaint about them. They really don't bark. Since I work from home, I walk them about 3 times a day. And remember, at this point, he doesn't know what floor I live on. At least I didn't think so. A few days later, I decided to go have dinner with one of my best friends. I left my apartment for literally 40 minutes because I try not to leave my dogs alone for too long. When I get off the elevator at my floor, I see the guy trying to open my door. He was pushing the door with his shoulder. I yelled at him from across the hallway and said, "What are you doing?" Then he looked shocked. Then he said, "Oh, sorry. I heard noise in your apartment and I wanted to make sure your dogs are okay." How does he know I have dogs? Part 3 is I caught my neighbor trying to open my apartment door. Should I be worried? Disclaimers not my story time, instead on my Instagram. When I caught him red-handed trying to open my door, I asked him what he was doing. He said that he walked by and heard my dogs making really loud noises, and that he just wanted to make sure that they were okay. My dogs were making 0 noises, and how did he know I had 2 dogs? And how did he know what floor I lived on? I was officially creeped out. He saw the look on my face and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I was just trying to check on your dogs." That's when I told him that he didn't need to do that and that it was okay and he could leave now. That's when he started freaking out. He said, "I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I can tell I made you uncomfortable and I feel like I've ruined everything." That's when I told him that he hadn't ruined anything because nothing was going on. Then he said, "Maybe you should give me your phone number so that if something like this happens again, I can just call you." I said no immediately. I told him he could leave again, and he walked away. He's halfway down the hallway and says, "Oh, we should still catch up for some coffee or something." What? I am concerned, but I don't know if I'm just freaking out for no reason. Could he have really been trying to help? Or am I right to think that he was trying to break in? I emailed my landlord and they said that they've never had a problem with him before. What the heck should I do?
Did you guys know that Stranger Things is based off of 3 dark CIA projects that happened in real life? And these all include Project Stargate, MK Ultra, and the Montauk experiments. So as most of you guys know, Stranger Things is set in the 80s during the Cold War. The US wanted to be able to control Russian spies and get them to answer all of their questions. They were very offended that they were not the only ones who had access to an atomic bomb anymore. So as an answer to this, the CIA decided to start a project that would create superhumans. And the whole purpose of Project Stargate was to manipulate the human mind in order to create heightened psychic abilities so that they could be used in the military for spying purposes. And some of the biggest focuses for this project included telekinesis, remote viewing, and psychoenergetics. Psychoenergetics is a mental process that through heightened cognitive abilities, an individual is capable of changing the characteristics of an item and its position without even touching it. And you can see throughout the show of Stranger Things that Elle is able to pick up and move things with her mind. Psychoenergetics also just reminds me of the Force. But Project Stargate was reported to have partial success with telekinesis and remote viewing. And just a weird, interesting tidbit is that most of the people that possess these remote viewing skills were actually Scientologists, but we can see in the show that Elle has access to watching other people's conversations. So is it possible that someone has been able to master exactly what Elle can do within the show? The realities of some of these projects, like MK Ultra, is even scarier in real life. Go to the next part. So many terrifying parts of Stranger Things happened in real life, and it genuinely makes me wonder if the CIA has admitted to this stuff. I wonder what they're not admitting to. For example, the Montauk experiments. The Montauk experiments are a conspiracy theory that alleges that there was a series of US experiments done at Camp Hero. And the purpose was not only to develop things like psychological warfare, but also time travel. Stories about the Montauk experiments have been circulating since the 80s. UFO researchers Jacques Vallée and Preston Nichols ended up coming forward with repressed memories about the experience. And the topics included in this book talk about time travel, teleportation, mind control, contact with extraterrestrial life, and staging fake Apollo moon landings. So basically stating that the moon landings videos and photos were allegedly faked by them. And in the book, he talked about how there was a hole ripped in hyperspace which was confined to Montauk, which allowed them to time travel between 1983 and 1943. And this is all included in Stranger Things. Because in Stranger Things, there's a hole torn in space that's threatening all of Hawkins. And in the first chapter of Preston's book, it states that whether you believe this is fiction or nonfiction, you're in for an amazing story. And if you want to know all about MK Ultra, which is what Elle's mom was a victim of in Stranger Things, so on my YouTube, I'm going to be going into depth on what happened during those experiments, and I'll also be going inside a sensory deprivation tank myself to see if I can access the upside down like Elle does.